Welcome back to my channel. If you don't know, my name is Izzy and it has been a minute because of how hectic my January has been. I don't know about anybody else, but the start of this year has felt very full on, which has just led me to needing a second. But I'm back and ready to talk more about camp and how amazing this experience is. This week I thought we could talk about weekend travels. So camp will give you a few days off over the summer. So there are camps that run for 7 to 9 weeks, like 7 weeks with campers and 9 weeks overall, where you will get time to go travel, just go for a trip to Walmart. It depends on the camp. So there are camps that'll give you a little bit of time off during the evenings and then a full day off. My camp that I spent a lot of time at, you'd finish Friday afternoon and you would go back Sunday morning. So it just depends which camp you end up at, whether it's like a week to week thing, whether you get a few days off over the summer, and just depends on how long the sessions are for the campers. So a lot of my experience is going to be based on the camp I spent the most time at because I have most experience with it. The one I worked at in Maine during COVID, we had different times off just based on what they could give us to make sure we're staying safe during COVID. But it's just whatever is going to work best for your camp. So what I'm going to talk about today is based on the idea that you can have about 24 hours off and a few evenings off. This is my advice on how to save money, how to get the most out of your experience, and how to make sure that you are not losing yourself to the couple of days off you get over the summer, that you still get to get that experience out of getting to be with your campers and getting the real summer camp experience. So first off, what to expect. What are you going to do for camp? What should you be planning to do? What should you really expect out of time off? This is not like a regular job where you work a couple of hours and then you get the rest of your day to yourself. A lot of the time you're going to be working 8-hour days. Sometimes you're going to be on for 23 hours because that is just how camp works out. And you are going to be like being mentally on for all that time takes a strain on your body, and you have to still go out on the weekends and try and get the most out of your experience. So how do you go about that? So most of the time you'll have around 24 hours off. Like I said, some days you'll have 3 or 4 hours to go out into town. Sometimes you can go and get a meal and go to Walmart. For my camp, we would finish camp, the day campers would leave at 5 p.m. We would have evening meeting, which was like just a wrap up of, hey, let's talk about the problems we had during the week on Friday so that when we go into Sunday, we're fresh and ready to go. You get rid of any of your problems. Staff could say, hey, I ran into this issue. Can we do something? Resolve it for next week. And just any last minute things. Originally when I started, we would give out checks, but they changed to not give out checks anymore. So it was just like a roundup of any housekeeping, making sure that we were sorted going into the next week. So if you do have 24 hours off, you will usually be off from about midnight or bedtime the night before, and you won't be required to be on until midnight the next day. So that is your time that you can go explore, do anything crazy that you want to do. But when you were checked back into camp, you are expected to be ready to go. If a camper needs anything, you are alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. You're ready to help your camper, and you cannot be intoxicated. You cannot be slurring. You cannot be doing any of the crazy stuff that you do in your time off. You have to be ready to be back. It also means if you work at a camp that is running the whole time, so the campers are there on site for 7 weeks, when you are back at camp, you are expected, even if it's your time off, you still have to present yourself in a way that is camp appropriate. So just bear that in mind. Even if you aren't leaving site, you still have to present yourself well to campers. So leaving camp, what can you do? You can use it to explore the area around you. Camps are usually based around some really stunning areas. You also might be like an hour or two from a city. Generally, camps don't like to be too far from the city because that makes it harder for campers to get there. My camp in Maryland was an hour from DC. We were like 2 hours from Alexandria, 2 hours from Richmond, like 2 hours from Annapolis, an hour. We had National Harbor an hour from us. Like, we had all these really big cities around us that we could go explore, and we could use that time to go explore the cities. But there were also like smaller towns near us, so we could go into the town and go to Target and get like clothes we were missing, if we needed socks, if we needed snacks. We could go to the cinemas on the weekends. We could go out for a nice meal, because my camp had the world's worst food the entire time I was there. They said they're fixing it going into next year, but the food was atrocious, so we would go get a half decent meal. We would also just go and like hang out at the mall. We wouldn't really shop, but we'd just get to be off site from camp, especially because there was nothing happening on camp. Like, it was really just like a dead zone in the off time, and I really hated being there when I didn't have to be. So it was nice to get off site and just go and explore around us. But we would also go to theme parks. There was a theme park like an hour and a half from camp, so we would go there like once a summer. We would also go to rafting places, and people would get like the tubes and like go tubing, and there is a lot of different options of things you can do in your time off. You don't have to just go to cities. If cities aren't your thing, try and come up with different options, and I'm sure you can get a group of people to go with you. You just have to like sell it as a really cool idea, and you'll find someone who is willing to do it. So, money saving tips. Now that I've mentioned all those cool things you can do, how do you not just burn through your money? Camp isn't going to pay you a whole lot of money, even the contracts that I'm looking at. So last summer I earned a lot of money. I had a really great job. I was earning a lot of money. This summer I'm going back and I'm going to a new camp, and the one full contract I've been offered so far is only worth $4,000 for 9 weeks. So I'm looking at getting like $400 a week, compared to last summer I was getting $1,400. So how am I going to make sure I'm not burning through all my money day one? You need to make sure that you are adjusting your travels to your budget. So absolutely think about doing some big crazy things throughout the summer, but you don't have to do big things every single weekend. You need to adjust that you're making sure you get a mix of the big, wild, amazing adventures mixed in with some smaller, calmer adventures. It's good for your mental health, it's good for your pocket, and it's good to make sure that either you're taking some money home with you or that you're saving the money for traveling. So my number one tip to save money: do not spend all your money on snacks at Walmart, especially if you go to a camp like mine where the food is not great. It is so easy to go ham on snacks at camp, and you end up with all this food you don't actually want, and you just get a sugar rush. So try and not go crazy. If camp has sheets, don't buy sheets. It's tempting to buy sheets because the sheets are usually not the best quality, but you don't need to buy $50 bed sheets to last you 2 months. You can get the ones they've got. I find camp is one of those places where you'll see somebody else buying stuff and you just want to buy it too. You just want to get all the stuff too. Number one, you only have one suitcase. You either have to carry all that stuff around with you on your adventures afterwards, or you have to figure out how to get it home, or it just ends up in the bin. So like, try not to just buy a whole heap of stuff that you don't need every time you go out shopping. That's a huge one, is I find people will just collect all these things. Also, don't necessarily buy the big expensive things that you probably don't need. I know that at my camp there would be people who would be like, oh yeah, it's cheaper here than it is back home, which is not necessarily untrue, but you don't need to constantly be buying. Be careful with the dopamine rush of just buying stuff while you're at camp, because with the adrenaline and your hormones and chemicals going up and down from camp, it can be really easy to just buy stuff for that happy rush you get from purchasing stuff, but then you realize you're spending your money on things you don't necessarily need. Now, I said don't go crazy on snacks at Walmart, but if you are looking to snack, a way you can save money is buying stuff that is actually good for you. So if you are going to the store for whatever reason, buying stuff like beef jerky sticks, the protein chews that have like 10 grams of protein. I specifically buy the brand Chomps. Something like that is a great way to save money because you have food in your belly, so you're not just like randomly running into a store to be like, I need food, and spending like triple the price on it. Otherwise, protein bars, another great source of nutrition and getting something in you as you are traveling and moving around. Making sure before you leave camp that you are eating in the morning. So at my camp, they would have boxed lunches or boxed breakfasts on the weekends. But they didn't used to do that, so I would have like cereal or little bags of oatmeal. You can get like single serve bags of oatmeal that you just chuck in the microwave that you can buy for like a whole box for like $10, and it's got like 20 things. Buying that is a lot better of a financial decision than buying breakfast from Dunkin' Donuts, which is like $8 versus $1. Especially when you're not earning a lot, that money starts to add up really quick. So choosing to put food in you before you go out, fuel your body, and you can make better financial choices, especially after camp when you are going days of having to make the decision of eating. I would 100% recommend getting oats or something like that that can fill you up and you've got an easy quick breakfast and you're not spending money as soon as you leave. Doesn't have to be oats, it can be cereal, but just putting something in your stomach. Speaking about food, because I always find food was one of the surprise things that would get me when I would go out traveling. Finding a restaurant in the area you're going beforehand to eat can be really helpful to not spend all your money. I have celiac disease, so for me, eating is never something that comes easy and definitely something that's always on my mind. I always get stressed when I have to go out into a new area and figure out what I'm going to eat. So this is something that I try and do normally, but whatever place you're going to, look for a restaurant around you, see, is it expensive? Do I think that they're going to be able to fit all of us? Do I need to book ahead? Making sure there's an affordable option near you so you have food and you know what you're doing and have a plan can really help you to save money and can help you from just picking the most expensive restaurant accidentally because you just need food ASAP. Always bring your water bottle. This is my best friend. That's a lie. This is not my best friend. This gorgeous, gorgeous girl has been on so many adventures with me. I love her. It's like 3 years old. I have 2 water bottles, but this is my very camp, very sunshine water bottle that has little dents on it from the amount of times I've dropped it. But this has saved me so much money because I have got water everywhere I go. The only time that I will buy water is to put in it is at airports, because airport water is disgusting. You cannot convince me airport water is not the filthiest, grossest thing. But even then, if you are going to buy Starbucks, you can ask them to fill it up for you. But always bring your water with you so you're not buying overpriced water when you are traveling. Next is using public transport when it is safe. It's not always safe to use public transport. Sometimes it is you just need to get out of the place you are because you accidentally took the wrong train or bus. Sometimes you are trying to go somewhere strange. So like for us, getting to the zoo in DC isn't always like the most safe place to get to. Like you can get part of the way by the train and then getting to the actual zoo is a bit icky. But take public transport when it's safe, and it's really going to save you from constantly getting Ubers and getting taxis and whatever else it is, because those start to add up really quickly, and then before you know it, you've spent a lot of money. Finally, find free stuff you can do wherever you're going. This is a lot easier for me to say because DC being the capital, there are a lot of free stuff to do. If you're to camp anywhere near DC, you have to go and spend like at least 2 weekends there, because there is that much free stuff to do there. The museums are free, all the monuments are free. I think it costs to go up the actual Washington Monument, which I still have never done, and I hate that. But there is that much free stuff around you. The metro isn't that expensive. From where we would get it into the city was like less than $5. Then you would spend like $10 on a lunch that you would get from the food trucks right near all the monuments. The museums are free. Like, there is so much free stuff to do in DC. I can't speak for a lot of other cities because I have only really done it in DC, but look out for what's free. Google it, like free stuff to do in whatever city you're in. And you can usually find articles that are like the 10 best things to do in DC, the 10 best things to do in New York, wherever it is. And use that as your holy Bible to try and hit all those spots during your time off. Another fun thing to do is like getting those e-bikes. They're not super cheap, but like riding around wherever you are, taking cute Instagram photos. This is so lame of me, but doing things for the bit and doing things for the Instagram, I find will usually get me to do the most cute, fun adventures. And I have found having more fun doing that stuff and trying to do the more free things around wherever I am. Other things that I find really fun to do is there somewhere that you can like paint pottery near you if you are near a city? That was something we tried to do with our friends this summer. I should have called ahead because like we didn't end up getting there until like later, and they ended up not being able to fit us, so we did an escape room, and that was really fun. And then we just like explored where we were. Convince yourself to do it for the bit, do it for fun, and you'll end up having fun doing random silly things. Next up, tips and tricks. One of my biggest tips, ask either returning counselors or people who live locally what they like to do. If there are counselors who live near where you guys are, ask them what their favorite things are to do. It might even just be that they're like, oh, this is my favorite restaurant, and you end up finding really great food near where you are. Otherwise, they might have fun adventures that they've gone on before, especially returning stuff. They've been there, they've found all the cool sites. They can usually tell you where to go, and you will have more adventurous fun than you would have otherwise. So definitely ask returning stuff what their favorite things are to do, so you can hit all the big spots, especially if you're only going for one summer. Tip number 2, research before leaving. Camp internet usually isn't the best. They do that on purpose to try and get you off your phone, which I don't blame them. So please research before you go. Try and find the best spots near wherever you are. You can do all the things that I've already mentioned of like looking up things and finding the 10 best things to do where I am. So try and look up the biggest city or the cities that are actually close to you. Like look up your map of this is where camp is, what's around me, so you can find what's most accurate. And then from there you can try and figure out, okay, I'm like an hour from this city, I'm 30 minutes from this attraction, I'm whatever it is, so you can try and figure out what's around you. I wouldn't recommend coming up with one thing for every day off, but maybe like find one thing you're interested in, and then you can find a group of people to go with and do it. But it also like it just gives you a little less stress for your first day off. And make sure you're not just going to Walmart to get shampoo and conditioner, you're actually getting something out of your time off. My next trick is stay true to yourself. I find that counselors and just people coming from all over the world won't necessarily trust themselves and won't necessarily realize that what they're doing is going against them. Now, please be open to new things and new adventures and meeting new people and just trying new things. But if you're someone who doesn't particularly love being in cities and love being around people, then try and find adventurous and outdoorsy stuff and going on walks or going on hikes that you can do. It's very much a balance of, you got to try new stuff, but you got to try and do things that will normally interest you. But I found a lot last year that people at my camp weren't really finding that balance. If you are looking for a happy medium and you're struggling to find it, you need to be the one ready to be like, hi friends, hi people I know at camp, I'm really interested in trying XYZ. Is anyone else interested in doing it with me? Like, don't make it an other people problem if you're unhappy. If you're unhappy, you need to figure out why and how you can solve it, and you are going to make yourself happy. So like, put yourself out there, but make sure you are staying true to yourself. Next tip, remember to always take advantage of camp food. Most of the time, camp will offer you a free breakfast and a free dinner. So take advantage of a free breakfast and a free dinner. Meal prices add up really quick. You go, you buy a soda, you buy an appetizer because you're really hungry, and you buy a main. That's 30, 40, 50 bucks right there. So try and take advantage of the free food before you go and spend all your money on food on the weekend when you can get food at camp for free. But also, if you are not a big eater, like, American portion sizes are huge. If you're not a big eater, don't be afraid to split with a friend. I have 2 friends that I swear to God never finish their meals, and I'm like, you guys are eating the same meal, just share. So if you're not a big eater, don't be afraid to split a meal with your friends. My last tip is try and look for some low-key activities. You don't have to have all the high crazy fun, using all your energy, walking 20,000 steps in the heat, not getting enough food. You should have some low-key ones that involve being in AC or going to see a movie, stuff that fills your cup and is not just exhausting. It's about having a mix of those really high fun things as well as some low-key stuff that's going to make you feel a little bit better and ready to go back into camp showing up as your best self. Please remember, camp is a marathon, not a sprint. You usually are there 8 or 9 weeks. It is grueling, it is hot, it is tiring. Camp overall is one of the most draining experiences there is. You are going to be exhausted, so make sure you are looking after your body, getting all your water in, drinking electrolytes if you need to. If you go out and party in your own time, that is your business, but please come back to camp ready to be your best self. Be respectful of others on the weekend and try not to get into fights, but you really want to come back to camp ready for whatever it is that you were needed to do, so that camp wants to hire you back. They know that you're not going to waste your weekends partying and going crazy. They're going to know you come back from your weekends better than ever, and that is why they're going to hire you and give you the raises and whatever else the good stuff is. That is it for this week's video. If you guys have any questions about weekend travels, please leave them down below. And if you have any questions about post-camp travels, also leave them down below. I'm going to be talking about post-camp next week and about all the fun stuff you can do post-camp, all my ideas and my favorite things I've done. I haven't done a lot of post-camp traveling, but I do have a plan going for this summer. So I'm going to be talking about my plans, some of the things my friends have done, as well as what I've had other people do at my camp, so that I can give you guys ideas of what to expect, what you should be thinking about, and just busting a couple of myths. If you do have any questions about any of that, please leave them down below and I will answer them in next week's video. Otherwise, I'll see you then. Bye guys.